No necesitaba, dice él ahí, que no necesitaba que le abrieran para que entrara.
Says that didn't need the door to be open for him to enter or to come out. And if you notice, we are now limited in this body to be able to enter those dimensions and to be able to see what is in those dimensions. Thus we need someone to open the door for us, and the door is always the veil to be able to enter those dimensions and to get the knowledge and a blessing to see what is in those dimensions. And who opens the door for us? Faith. The hand of faith, which is revelation. That is faith based on revelation. There, with that, it helps us to open the door and to be able to pass behind that veil, behind the door, through the door, to be able to access those dimensions and thus to obtain the knowledge of what is in those dimensions. But already with the eternal and glorified body, since we are already inside, then automatically we do not need, we already passed the veil. In other words, we already passed to the place where God is going to give us that eternal and glorified body, which is the most holy place, which is the dispensation of the kingdom. Because the dispensation of grace gives us the theophanic body, and it is in the dispensation of the kingdom where we are given the glorified body. So it cannot be the dispensation of grace that gives us the eternal and glorified body. It has to be in the dispensation of the kingdom. It is the dispensation of the kingdom that we get first the knowledge of being able to have that hand, that mighty hand of faith, which is the one that opens us up. We pass through the veil, we see what God is doing. God gives us the rapturing faith, which are the ministries of Moses and Elijah, the ministry of the Son of Man with his angels, and all the knowledge of what is in the most holy place. And then when we obtain the eternal glorified body, we no longer have to wait for someone to open the door, in other words, to give us the revelation to enter, but we can enter and come out in those dimensions to be able to do the work corresponding to the time in which we are living in that glorified body. The limitation now is we are limited in terms of working in other dimensions, because there is a door to enter, and since you always enter through the door, you have to enter to work in that place, in the place where you go. You go to the supermarket, you have to go shopping, you have to enter through some door. You go to pay for electricity, you have to enter through some door. You see, one always enters a place to do something for which he enters through a door. You go to the home to be with your family, to have rest, and to do everything through a door. It is always through a door that one does the work. And being in these bodies obligatorily to be able to do the work that corresponds to our time, and the work that God has inside the door is to give us the faith of rapture. Therefore we have to enter through that door. But we need God's help, which is the hand of faith, the revelation, to be able to open and enter through that door. And then once you obtain the eternal and glorified body, we do not need any of that, because we already have that mechanism in us, in the eternal and glorified body. We no longer need to depend on someone to open for us the door, but the door automatically comes to be our own selves. The door becomes the elect. For if he says, I am the door, and he is the word, by being the word also, one automatically becomes the door as well. And notice that for eternal life, one is going to ask for the relatives. Notice where the door is also fulfilled in favor of the relatives, because then they are going to enter through one. through someone.
O sea que es a través
Notice how tremendous it is.
de uno como
That
individuo
just came to me
que
now.
los escogidos
In other words, it is through
de Dios
one or someone as an individual that
de que
God's
sus
elect have
familiares entren.
the power to have their relatives enter into eternal life through the door.
¿Qué cosa?
What a thing.
O sea, viene a ser
In other words,
uno
one
la puerta para su familia,
becomes a door for his relatives,
para que a través de uno
so that through him
entren a vida
they
eterna.
may enter into eternal life.
Eso es algo
That is
tremendo y
something
glorioso.
tremendous and
El
glorious.
que Dios,
The fact
como Él se distribuye entre
the fact
todos
that
sus
God
hijos,
he distributes himself among all his children. In other words,
es cumplir en
it is the
nosotros.
word that is fulfilled in us, because we are part of that word.
Escogidos
Then we become
puerta.
elect door or elect gate,
Vendríamos a ser puerta para los familiares.
because we become a door for the relatives,
O sea,
for our relatives.
como así nosotros,
So you notice how tremendous it is.
al obtener el cuerpo
In other
eterno
words, since
glorificado, no necesitamos
when we obtain the eternal glorified body, we do not need someone to open for us,
como somos,
because
ya seríamos esos
since
veros
we
de
are would already be in those veils of
carne,
flesh,
vamos a ser puertas
we become doors,
para a través de nosotros
so that through us
entrar los
the relatives
familiares.
can enter,
Y así,
and thus
ahí es que se puede
that is where one can see, where one can impart eternal life, because everything, since everything has to enter through a door, it has to be through the door, which is in that family nucleus, the elect. Each elect is the door of his family, of his descendants. The Tuesday, January 24th of this year 2023, in this sharing about what the door is.